The Type 14 Blackwood-class were a ship class of minimal second-rate anti-submarine warfare frigates, built for the Royal Navy during the 1950s at a time of increasing threat from the Soviet Union's submarine fleet. They served until the late 1970s. 12 ships of this class served with the Royal Navy and a further 3 were built for the Indian Navy. Design. The Type 14 frigates were designed to be cheaper and smaller than the expensive Type 12 frigates. Although they lacked gun armament, their anti-submarine armament of 2 limber mortars, Mk-20 torpedoes and sonar fit equaled the larger Type 12, and as the crews of the Type 14 concentrated almost entirely on practicing anti-submarine warfare, they were often the most effective frigates in anti-submarine exercises until the mid-1960s. The class were entirely specialized for the anti-submarine role and hence had little capability in any other role, though they did perform fishery protection duties during the confrontations with Iceland over fishing rights. In the late 1950s, during the time on patrols around Iceland to ensure that Iceland did not interfere with British fishermen's attempts to fish, problems were found with the hulls of the Type 14s in such heavy waters, so that the hulls had to be strengthened to cope with these patrols. However, they proved to be good sea boats throughout the dispute, which continued into the mid-1970s. The low profile of the superstructure was a deliberate design feature to confuse enemy attackers. The Type 14 design was flawed by the lack of a gun, and also by a general lack of space. After experience with these frigates, the Admiralty decided to ensure that quality was the top priority of all ships, even though it meant having a smaller fleet. One of the ships, Exmouth, was later converted in 1966 to 1968 to act as experimental trials vessel for gas turbine propulsion, becoming the first major warship of the Royal Navy to be entirely powered by gas turbines. In this configuration she was easily distinguishable from other members of the class due to her larger funnel and large air intake sited immediately fore and aft of the funnel. The success of these trials led to the adoption of all-gas turbine propulsion as standard on subsequent Royal Navy warship designs. Service. The Type 14's limited size at just 310 feet restricted them from continuing past the 1970s and continuing the work as anti-submarine ships. The small hull limited the extent of modifications and upgrades possible, preventing the Type 14s from being modernized with more effective weapons, effectively rendering them obsolete. All were decommissioned in the 1970s. The last operational were the gas-powered Exmouth in 1977 and Hardy, which attended the Silver Jubilee of Elizabeth II in 1977 and deployed again from the Standby Squadron in 1978. In film, the 1960 Norman Wisdom film The Bulldog Breed was made in Portland Harbor with cooperation from the Royal Navy, and features several of the Blackwood-class frigates. An early scene shows a flotilla of Type 14s led by Murray. Ships, Royal Navy. The Royal Navy ships were all named after British captains. Many had been in the Napoleonic Wars and some were present at the Battle of Trafalgar. Blackwood, Henry Blackwood. Duncan, Adam Duncan. Dundas, James Whitley Deans Dundas. Exmouth, Edward Pellew, 1st Viscount Exmouth. Grafton, Henry Fitzroy, 1st Duke of Grafton. Hardy, Vice Admiral Thomas Hardy. Keppel, Augustus Keppel. Malcolm, Pulte Malcolm. Murray, George Murray. Palliser, Hugh Palliser. Pellew, Israel Pellew. Russell, Thomas McNamara Russell. Indian Navy. 3 ships were built for the Indian Navy in the late 1950s. Kukri, sunk by the Pakistani submarine PNS Angkor on 8 December 1971 during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. Kirpan, heavily damaged and put out of action by Pakistani submarine PNS Angkor on 8 December 1971 during the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. UFA. Construction Program. Publications. Purvis M.K. Post-war RN frigate and guided missile destroyer design 1944–1969. Transactions. Royal Institution of Naval Architects 1974. Marriott, Leo, Royal Navy frigates since 1945. 2nd edition. ISBN 0711019150. Published by Ian Allen Limited, 1990. College. J. Warlow, Ben. Ships of the Royal Navy. The complete record of all fighting ships of the Royal Navy. London. Chatham Publishing. ISBN 9781861762818. OCLC 67375475.